Dude, so there's this guy named Riley Curry. He's like 29 years old. People keep tweeting at him, like how much they hate him. He's like, I'm not Steph's daughter, though. I'm just some
I
guy.
saw that. That was pretty funny.
I was like, oh my God, that's terrible.
I think that's a good enough intro there for this. And my name is Will Ryan. This is the Ryno Sports Talk podcast with my special guest, Austin Druse. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey, Will, how's it going? Thanks for
Hey,
having me on.
man, what's up? So we're going to talk a little NBA, I'm thinking. Game 6 recap, maybe a couple before that. We talked a lot about that kind of stuff over text, but I want your opinion on the Curry. What he got fined for, and ejection and all that first before I get into my part.
Oh, well, first and foremost, I think he was completely deserving of this technical foul and the ejection. I think that while he might have thought some of those fouls were cheap, watching him over, he committed a foul every single time. Now, whether or not you give the MVP those fouls, that's yet to be determined, but even the one where they were saying that he didn't foul Kyrie when he picked him clean, he fouled him before the strip. So because of the foul, he was able to get the steal, and all the other ones were legitimate calls. So I don't understand the whole up in arms about being so frustrated. Guys have bad nights and they foul out. Now, his reaction and his run around, throwing the mouthpiece, screaming at the official, that's completely deserving of a technical foul, and that's totally why he should have gotten ejected there. Now, this talk of him getting suspended is outrageous. There's no way in my eyes that he should be suspended, but I mean, he just had a rough night in terms of fouls and just had to let it go a little bit. I'd be a little bit frustrated too if I was.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wrote that in my piece for this week about how he was just really frustrated with both his teammates because, like, you saw earlier, I don't know if you saw this, but it was in the first quarter. He got a switch onto, I think it was Tristan Thompson. And they fed it down low, and Kyrie was trying to cover him, and it didn't quite work. And so he just threw him around like a rag doll, so he couldn't get the ball. That was like his, I think, first or second foul, and I was just amazed how, like, he was yelling at Harrison Barnes right after, and I think Draymond too. I don't remember, but that was one of the most interesting things I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, there's no reason with the type of size they have that he should be getting switched on to governing Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love down on a block. There's no reason that should happen, especially that early in the game. It's like there hasn't even been a chance for a defensive mistake. It was like the third possession of the game.
Yeah. They were making a lot of mistakes defensively, I thought, especially with they were switching everything off of Barnes to Curry or Clay, but they also had some at the very end. And that also happened just because Iggy was out. And I know I read your piece about it and you kind of touched on it. Do you think him and Bogut are big reasons why the Cavs are back in this at 3-3 going into Game 7, or is it just Iggy for that last game, or what's the deal with those injuries? What's the impact, I guess?
Well, with Bogut, he's a rim protector, so he keeps LeBron and Kyrie's dribble drive curbed a little bit. But the thing is he's 6 extra fouls. That's just 6 fouls that you can throw out there, and you're not going to lose anything on the offensive end if he has to go to the bench. That's what's frustrating. So then you have to play more guys like Anderson Varejao, who's not nearly the defensive player that Andrew Bogut is, and he can't really do anything on offense. So that hurts them. And then with Draymond not having the extra security of not only having Bogut's fouls, but he's on just such thin ice, that kind of takes him out of the physical play on the defensive end. And Andre Iguodala, he won Finals MVP last year mostly because of how well he played against LeBron. Now they say that he's a LeBron stopper, even though LeBron averaged a triple-double for the series last year. He's still the best LeBron defensive guy that the Warriors have. So with him hurt, with a bad back, he just can't keep up with LeBron laterally. So you take both those guys out, and he just has a free trip to the basket just about every time.
For sure, and I think you mentioned that Iguodala is the LeBron stopper, as I put air quotes around that. I don't see that. I see more of, like, he can stop him on make him take shots, but, like, combined, like you said, Bogut and Iguodala, they stop the inside penetration from LeBron. But the only true LeBron stopper in the league is really Kawhi Leonard from, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when he just almost shut him down completely from in the finals there. So.
Well, yeah, and then I think Draymond Green, who's one of the other best defensive players in the league, could stop LeBron, but I mean, he's been battling down low with Tristan Thompson, who you need Green down there to rebound, and just the way that Thompson goes to the offensive glass, Green can't be in two places at once, so they have to play Iguodala on him.
Yeah, and I was moving on to just another like topic off of defense for real quick, but Harrison Barnes, what does he actually do for them? Because I remember them. I think it was last year he was talking about he's the 3-and-D guy, but doesn't guard. He's not their. He's their shutdown of. I can't remember who like James Jones or whatever, just the hot shooter that comes in. Like, what do you think about their supporting cast right now? What are they doing and all that stuff for the Warriors?
Well, see, here's the thing: is their 3-and-D guy really is Klay Thompson, and Cowherd was saying the other day on his show that Klay Thompson, other than maybe like 3, 4, 5 teams in the league, would be the best player on that team. So the notion that Harrison Barnes is the 3-and-D guy is kind of a falsity, but Harrison Barnes, what he's been doing for the Warriors in the last 2 games is just throwing his future money in the trash. He's just been setting it on fire because he was in position to be a max player next year and sign a restricted free agent offer sheet, probably with the Knicks or something, and the Warriors weren't going to be able to match it. What he's doing right now is he's making sure that he's going to be in Golden State because no one's going to throw that amount of money at him with how poorly he's been playing, rather. And so he's just kind of being out there, and they're playing 4-on-5 essentially. Because he's not a terrific defender, and he was 0 for 8 last night. It's like he barely even showed up. So I don't really know. When he's hitting the mid-range jumper, it helps because he just opens the floor that much more for Steph and Klay to do dribble drive and that kind of stuff, and get Draymond to do some dribble drive and pick and roll. And when he's that guy coming off the extra pass on the pick and roll, the Warriors are unstoppable. But when he's off, they basically have to play the whole offensive possession 4-on-5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. And I'm looking at the stats right now. He only played 16 minutes last night, and compared to Leandro Barbosa and Festus Ezeli, he played less than Barbosa, but only 1 minute more than Ezeli. He should be playing starter minutes and not giving those guys as many minutes there, in my opinion. Even though Barbosa did play really well with 14 last night.
Well, in my opinion, Barnes should come off the bench, and Iguodala should start in his place. I mean, obviously with Bogut hurt, Iguodala and Barnes were starting. But what they did is to make sure that they wouldn't lose Harrison Barnes in free agency is to make sure that Iguodala would come off the bench and kind of be the 6-man role, because they figured that would be better for the Warriors and it would keep everybody happy. And Iguodala did that, and he's done really well with it. What Barnes is doing right now is he's just cementing the fact that he's probably a pretty overrated player, and now I'm kind of concerned for him financially because I just don't see him getting the amount of money that he was probably going to get in the offseason unless he goes bananas in Game 7.
Yeah, I don't really see him doing that after the 0 for 8 and then whatever he did the game before. But I have a interesting question for you, since we haven't really talked about this, but we used to talk about it when we were in the dorms. What do you think was the more eye-popping stat, I guess, like more surprising stat, the 0 for 8 from Barnes or the 8 for 20 from Steph Curry?
8 for 20 from Steph Curry. I mean, what's frustrating is that I thought Steph was going to have a really big game last night, and he had 30, and he had 38 a couple games ago. I mean, he hasn't been bad in this series. He just hasn't been Steph Curry good. He's been Steph of maybe 4 years ago, and he's not unanimous MVP. That's what's most frustrating. I mean, 8 for 20 for 30 points is still pretty efficient considering he hit, I think, 5 or 6 3-pointers. So he had a pretty decent night. It was just the foul trouble that was really killing him. He couldn't hit 3, 4, 5 shots in a row and really get them on a big run. You can replace Harrison Barnes' production, but when Curry isn't being the leader of that team scoring-wise, it just, I don't know. For me, it's just harder because he's the face of the team, and he's not getting it going, so then it's just constantly up to these other guys, as it has been the whole series. And Maurice Space and Sean Livingston and Leandro Barbosa aren't going to dominate a finals, especially when on the other side you have Kyrie and LeBron.
Yeah, and with that Kyrie and LeBron, I think, what we were talking about before, LeBron's just going to go off, and I had tweeted this out, and I hope you saw it. It was what you said earlier, where he hoped LeBron just hits the game winner over Draymond and takes what was it, steals Curry's wife and makes Riley his daughter and all that. That was just the funniest thing. But
I mean, that's from a fan perspective for me, because I mean, I'm a huge LeBron fan. I think he's such an underrated player, which is amazing that you consider him that I would, or anybody could consider him underrated, considering he's one of the top 10, in my opinion, players of all time. And if he wins this series, he's probably second best ever to Michael in terms of non-big men. But if we haven't had a close game, so we haven't had a chance for someone to hit that series-defining, that game winner. But if anybody's going to hit it, I want it to be LeBron, because I want him to just, kind of reinstate the fact that he's so much better than Steph. He's so much better, despite the accolades, despite the unanimous MVP, whatever. I mean, it's still LeBron's show.
yeah, it's still LeBron's NBA, like you're saying, but I think like the Steph Curry thing is really, he's 28 28. I'm pretty sure 27 or 28. He's kind of older-ish, but no one realized it because he stayed 4 years at Davidson, and it's just kind of gonna fade. I think the whole 3-point, just shoot up what do they shoot, like 53s a game, something like that. They put up a bunch, but that type of game is gonna be gone here in a few years because he's just gonna not be able to do that unless he pulls a Ray Allen.
Well, unless there's another guy that comes along like Steph, I think you're right. I don't think the three ball is going anywhere necessarily, but this team is just built and equipped with so many jump shooters that we've never seen a team like this before that has so many guys that can just kill you from three, and that they're trading threes for twos in every game and are able to win 73 games. Now, just the way today's NBA works, and because there's so many jump shots, they're just so perfectly equipped to have that kind of regular season record. What's interesting is if they lose this finals, how many teams are still going to try and gear up to be a Warriors-esque team? Because, they live and they die by the three, and right now they're dying really hard by it. The basketball gods have been very cruel to them because all the shots that they've been making all season long just haven't been falling in the last couple of games, and that's why they went from 3-1 to 3-3 pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with that. Like, as we saw with Cleveland, they swept their first two series, basically living on the three ball, pulling the Warriors small ball kind of deal, and then they finally lost to the Raptors because they couldn't hit any of their shots. So it's kind of live or die, like you said, and I think that they're going to they're starting to fade, and they're just kind of getting tired from shooting how many ever shots they shot throughout the whole year. But so I want to what?
Well, here's a question that I have. Last year it was kind of Cleveland and LeBron running out of gas. LeBron is the most rested he's been in the playoffs probably in his career. Do you think at this point the Warriors are just starting to run out of gas?
I think so. Like, everyone made a big deal about their I can't think of what it's called, like their resting schedule where they only play like 30 minutes or whatever because they don't play the fourth quarter. But I think that they're just kind of, the last two series, they're against the Trailblazers where they played 6, and they're playing almost every minute of those games, and then they're playing every minute of the Thunder series. That kind of all adds up, and it all that minutes right there offsets the minutes from their regular season that they missed. So they are just running out late just because of the lately.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting to that point, and they got to summon 48 more minutes, as cliche as that sounds. And why I'm not necessarily worried about the Warriors, I still think that they're going to win the series and win the title. I picked them at 7 before the conference finals started, and I've been missing just about every individual game pick I've had, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick with them in my original thought of Warriors in 7, because they're still that 73-win team. They still have the best home court advantage when they're winning. Oracle Arena's crazy, and then when they start losing, people start leaving. But they can keep the lead. That place is going to be packed. It's going to be loud. They still have unanimous MVP, and we're still waiting for that defining moment in the finals for Steph. And I just like to think that, from a stories perspective, he's bound to deliver. what more can we get from LeBron other than a game-winning shot to win a championship? Like, you really can't ask for any more from him, and there's still so much to be desired from Steph. That's why I'm not really worried about the Warriors, and I think that they still have a pretty good shot to win it.
Yeah, I still think they do too. And I mean, they just have to lock down defensively and get smarter on their rotations. Really, is what I'm thinking, because they're letting a lot of wide open shots, especially for Kevin Love, for Kyrie, just because Kyrie's just kind of running circles around Steph and then running into screens kind of deal, or like the natural screens, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's where they're going to start. They need to start doing better defensively, is on those natural screens. They need to be hedging them instead of switching. Just get a hand in the face so they're not doing a quick shot kind of deal. But I guess I want to do I have two questions for you, because I know we've talked about it and we got kind of animated in some of them. But how bad is the flopping situation right now in the NBA?
Well, Will, you follow me on Twitter. I think anybody that flops should be fined $50 million. But obviously that's not going to happen because that's just unachievable. But I think it is really frustrating because it takes away so much from natural defense. And I think at some point, yeah, you got to flop a little bit because you got to draw an offensive foul. You got to, get a little bit of contact, try to get the call to go your way. That's all fine. That's just, I guess, just gamesmanship. But this whole stuff, Anderson Varejao, the dude's got to get out of here. That guy is 7 feet tall. He's 275 pounds. There's no way that Iman Shumpert going to box him out is causing him to fall down like that. Unless Iman Shumpert puts his behind directly into his kneecap and, or like punches him in the crotch. Like, there's no reason he should drop like that. And that's why it's so frustrating, is that he does too much. And I think the NBA needs to, again, look at this whole flopping thing as just to get it out of the game. What I loved last night is that the officials were not calling fouls on those three-point shots where Steph was kind of flailing around a little bit and flopping, trying to draw the call. And they even got Clay with an offensive foul on one of them where he kind of did it and hit, can't remember who, in the face, and they called an offensive foul on the jump shot. So I was pretty happy with the officials last night in the flopping, and I think they just, again, have to be encouraged that if it legitimately looks like he was displaced, it has to be a foul. But if the player barely got touched and they go flying, like, obviously they flopped. So the officials shouldn't give them the benefit of the whistle. And if they are doing it, the league's got to come in and they got to up those fines. Because once you start hitting them in the wallet, that's when you're really going to see things change.
And even with, I'm going to go off that just a little bit, what would a suspension for, like, half a game for first offense kind of deal? Like, somewhat of a suspension where it's not, like, a full game, but it's still enough to do something, to be meaningful. How much would that affect the players, do you think? Would they start thinking about, oh, why would I do this flop kind of thing? Or why would I flop? Do you think that would help at all, or do you think that would be just kind of a bad thing to do?
I think, any sort of threat of a suspension would be a pretty good deterrent. I just don't know how you can really try and determine that a player should maybe miss time for any sort of flop like that. But I definitely think that the money thing is always going to hurt them, because it's like you don't want to be forking over $25,000 or something for the flop. I think if they just upped it to $50 million, obviously that would change it a lot. But I don't know. It'd be something for the league to play around with. Here's the problem, though, is this: you get a lot of floppers, and it's key players that are flopping, and then they're starting to have to sit halves and stuff. It's going to make the fans really upset because they're paying a lot of money for those tickets, but guys aren't going to be playing.
That's a good point too. I never really thought about that one. I guess more of the fine would probably be a better way to go on that. So I'm pretty sure you saw the tweet last night from Aisha Curry. Did you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
I want your opinion, because we talked about this during the draft lottery. Is the NBA rigged? I want you to go all out on this.
I got really mad at the Thunder for blowing their 3-1 series lead, but the NBA, the draft is probably rigged, but I don't think the games are. There's just too many moving parts. There's just too much happening. Like, how can you rig it that LeBron gets 41 and, that Iggy hurts his back and everything like that? So a lot of my claims of the NBA being rigged is just out of frustration, because I really was upset that the Thunder were blowing that big lead. With Ayesha, I mean, I understand her frustration. I totally love and respect her loyalty to her husband. That's awesome. I think that's great. I think they're a really strong couple, and she really supports him. In her case, though, I just think type it, screenshot it, don't hit send. Just don't put it out there. You're digging yourself a hole. It's just, I don't know. Personally, I love her fire. I love her support of her husband. I love her support of her team. But I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have tweeted that if I was in her position. At least it's easy for me to say that now. But given the circumstances, I don't think personally that she should have ever hit send on that one. Probably should have just deleted the draft.
Hey, deleting the draft's better than deleting your account, right?
Yeah. Well, now everyone's telling her to delete her account, and
yeah.
That's kind of rough. Just had a rough couple weeks with the social media stuff. Maybe she should just take a little break, put the phone down.
LeBron go off the radar for the whole playoffs. That might be a good thing for her.
Yeah, that might work.
All right. So with that, I kind of wanted to talk about Game 7. We talked about it a little bit today, and you said, like I said, J.R. Smith would be a good key factor, and that's why I kind of want to start. Who's your key factors for the game? One for each team.
I just think the overall key factor is going to be, does LeBron hit jumpers? If he's hitting jump shots and he's, just scoring at will and opening the floor for everybody else, it's over for the Warriors. Because when he's hitting those jumpers, it's hard to defend him, and especially if Iguodala is still hurting. So I think that's going to be one of the key things for the game. It's kind of hard to narrow it down to one. I think if the Warriors get that really big game from Steph and Clay and keep it close and force LeBron to hit big shots down the stretch, that might be a little bit different. Depends how healthy Iguodala is. But I really want to see a big game from Draymond. I want to see him get loud and animated and play Draymond Green basketball, because they really feed off of his energy, and he's not going to have to worry about a suspension anymore because it's the last game of the season. I mean, maybe he gets suspended next year, but if they're holding another title, who cares? So he's going to have to get really animated and play some Draymond Green basketball. So, I think those are a couple of things. With JR, my one worry about that is that he's a role player, and role players typically aren't great on the road. So I would love for him to light up the place and shoot a bunch of threes and hit a bunch of threes and kind of play a back-and-forth pickup game with Steph. But if he does that too much, and if he and Kyrie do that too much, that's a lot of bad shots. It takes the ball out of LeBron's hands, and that makes it easier for the Warriors to win.
Yeah, I see your point on that one, because you got Kyrie and JR against Curry and Clay, and that's not gonna be a good game. That's not a fair matchup there. And then, what do you think, Kevin Love? So he started last game, and he started the other win in Game 5, or he came off the bench in Game 5. Do you think they should start him, come off the bench, and if he comes off the bench, who should they start in his place instead? Like, what do you think they should do with Kevin Love, I guess?
I think you keep him in the starting lineup, and you bring Jefferson off the bench. Keep doing what they're doing, and just kind of tell him, man, go get rebounds when you can, draw fouls when you can, and hit threes when you can. Just let Kyrie and LeBron do what they do. Let them kind of run the show, and Kevin Love can just kind of stay out of their way and fill in and provide maybe 12, 15 points by hitting some outside shots, getting to the free throw line a little bit, maybe 8 boards. That's really going to help them at that point. And again, he's out there, he's going to be another 6 fouls. So that's going to help. As long as he doesn't try and do too much, he's going to get a championship. But either way, win or loss, I think he's done in Cleveland. And he's probably going to be a Laker next year.
You're talking as a trading.
Laker. Yeah, I'll probably trade him. Laker or a Nugget or a Celtic probably next year.
What would they get back for him, though? Because I don't think his value is high enough. Since the Lakers have the 2, and you mentioned Celtics have 3, and the Nuggets even have 7. What value could they even have for him? I don't think they could get that high of a first-round pick for him.
Yeah, it's just all 3 of those teams have money, so they can take on that contract, and I'm sure that the Cavaliers will probably take some expiring contracts with some veterans. And then maybe let them go or something, or just play another year with them, and we'll see. I mean, every team is going to have an additional $30 million this coming year with the salary cap. So either win or lose, I have a hard time seeing Kevin Love stay because he just doesn't fit. So what he has to do on Sunday in Game 7 is just do his best to fit whatever way he can by knocking down some jumpers and doing any bit of defense that he can and just let LeBron win the game.
Yeah, that's kind of what you have to do as a Cavalier now, or whatever team LeBron plays on, any team LeBron's playing on, you got to let him do him, let him get his, and then you get whatever you can. You get the scraps kind of deal.
Well, and see, I don't think LeBron is going to be as passive as he was early in the series where he's letting other guys get involved. I think he's going to say, look, I'm going to give you a couple shots to start, but if you're not going, I'm just going to take over.
Yeah, I could see that a lot, too, just because he doesn't want to get in that. If they get in that huge hole of at least, I call it 10 points huge, but it's really not. But if they get into a hole of double digits, I don't think they can make that big of a comeback, even if it is still in the first quarter and they're like down 20-10 or whatever score they had last night. I don't think they can make that comeback against the Warriors, just because they'll keep.
The Warriors can make that comeback against the Cavs. I agree with you. I don't think the Cavs can make that comeback against the Warriors.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, like, "Oh, if Curry wasn't ejected last night, he could have helped make that comeback." And I don't see it that much because what were they down by? 15, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, ish. 13, 15. Well,
more than 10.
Steph was 8 for 20, so it's not like he was lighting it up. So,
and
I don't know. I don't like those what-if games. Draymond says if he played in Game 5, they would have already won. So, obviously, you can't play those hypotheticals. You just have to take the results. So, I still don't think if he's in the game that they win it. I think if anybody was going to take over and win it, it would have been Clay because he started to last night, and I figured he would have done it. But
done one of those 30 points in a quarter kind of Klay Thompson.
The Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, Klay Thompson. That's what I was afraid of. And in the third quarter, it was starting to look like that for a minute. But then the Cavaliers were just too much last night. They had too much. LeBron was just he was just not giving up that game.
I think that's how the Game 7 is going to go. I'm going to try and transition into Game 7 predictions. And I was just starting to think about it, and it's like, I don't see the Cavaliers really slowing down coming off that big Game 6 rush, Game 5 rush, where they've won 2 games in a row now against the best, air quotes, best team in the world, best team ever, whatever you want to call it. And I don't see them pulling off. I can see them pulling off a third win, but I think they're going to run out of gas in the fourth again, because I'm pretty sure that Kyrie and LeBron played like 35 minutes or something like that last night. Okay, LeBron played 40 and Kyrie played 39. Do you think they run out of steam, or do you think they win that? What's your predictions for Game 7?
I got Warriors winning 115-110, and I think that they hold off the Cavaliers' comeback. I don't think we'll see an overcoming a 3-1 deficit in the finals, which sucks because LeBron's had a hell of a finals. He's had a hell of a career thus far. He doesn't deserve the flack that he gets, especially with his finals record. But that's what we're going to be talking about on Monday morning is back-to-back chips for the Warriors. You're going to hear all this greatest team of all time BS for the next 5 months because I'm pretty sure they're going to win it. And I think it'll be a close game, though. I think we'll finally have a close game in the finals. I'm going to take the Warriors 115-110.
I think it's going to be close like that as well, just because all the other 6 games have been blowouts, basically. And I don't know who to pick. I'd say Warriors as well, just because. And I kind of want your opinion on this now that I think about it, because I forgot to ask about it earlier. But when Curry was coming off the court after he got tossed, and he pointed out LeBron and said, "I'm coming for you." What does that do for that Warriors team and Curry in particular? And does that give them a sort of fire?
Well, I think it gives them a fire. I think Curry's going to start pulling early, and I think he's going to start hitting early. So LeBron's going to respond. He always does. At this point in the career, it's not about whether or not he's a clutch player. He's a clutch player. He plays huge in the finals. I just think we're probably going to see Steph's defining moment in the finals, and he'll probably have a pretty big game. So it'll be an interesting one, and I think that him getting punked by LeBron last night is really going to set a fire for him. He's going to come out firing and probably going to hit a lot of big shots early.
I could see that as well, and I know, I know. I saw the block. I'm fairly sure you saw the block. What? I want your. We always make jokes about it. What's your best joke opinion about that block that LeBron had on Curry last night?
Well, I think you just said, "Get out of here, Wardell," and your wife's recipes aren't even that good. And then he left.
Oh God.
Well, he said, "My kids are cuter. My daughter's cuter than Riley. Get out of here."
Wow. All right. So NBA draft, just touch on it real quick. 'Cause I think don't you gotta go here in a couple minutes, or you got a couple? All right. So
Yes,
we'll
sir.
just talk about this just real quick. Top three. Who you got going top three in order?
Brandon Ingram, Ben Simmons, and then either Chris Dunn, maybe somebody foreign, maybe Buddy Hield if he's that high, but I definitely don't think the Sixers are going to take Ben Simmons as the number one. I think they're going to go with Brandon Ingram.
I think so as well, just because Ingram fits a lot better into that system and scheme with them, just because he's the shooter. They have like 12 centers on their team. Only 3 of them are decent, but he just fits a lot better, and Ingram's a lot better shooter. So you're thinking Simmons goes 2 to the Lakers. So is he going to be their? Is he going to be their center, or do you think there would be more power forward and put Russell at small forward? Or
I think Simmons should play point guard wherever he goes. I think he should be like the point forward LeBron is. The difficult thing is he can't shoot, but he just handles and distributes the ball so well. I mean, he's going to be everywhere on the floor, but he'll probably be listed as a power forward. I don't think he can really – like, you're not going to match him up on Boogie Cousins, so I don't think he's a center. But I think he'll handle the ball like a point guard, but he'll probably be listed at the 4.
Yeah, I don't see him being a true center just because he's 6'10", 240. That's – like, LeBron weighs more than he does, and LeBron's only 6'9". They're all he's just a little too small to play center for them. Which is funny now. I'm looking at the CBS rankings of it, and they list him as a small forward. On
that could work too. Something on the wing.
I guess, yeah. But
something where he's going to have the ball. He's going to have the ball wherever he's at.
Like you're talking running the show kind of ball handling. You're talking?
Yeah, in the next few years, probably so.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, 2 more questions for you. Who do you got Nuggets and your Pacers taking at 7 for the Nuggets and wherever the Pacers are? So I don't know where they're at. Let me find it.
Nuggets at 7. I think Buddy Hield would be the ideal pick. I just don't know if he'll fall that far. As far as the Pacers go, that's a tough one.
Where are the Pacers? Oh, do they have 1 pick or just the 1?
I think they might just have 1.
Yeah, they have 1
Let's
at 20.
see. I can't really see any great players falling that far.
I was thinking.
I'm on Yahoo right here, has them taking 1 Hernan Gomez out of Spain. So I don't know. Whoever you can get, it's just such a shallow draft outside of the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, because like they have Jaylen Brown, who's smart, but he didn't really do anything last year at California. So he's at 5. I don't know about that. So I don't know if he could do anything. But did you just get that team stream about $94 million for NBA salary cap? They're going to be rolling at the bank.
Yep.
But
yeah, everybody's going to get money.
all right. Well, I better let you go since you got to go work. So thanks for joining me, Austin. What's your site?
Sportscaboose.wordpress.com.
Alrighty, go give him a follow. He produces pretty good content. Thanks again, Austin. Maybe we can do this some more during the school year.
Thanks, Will.
Later.
Take it easy, man.